Hey everybody, I'm Robert Goblet. How are you? Obviously, you can't answer that question because this isn't a live video or anything like that. This is just something pre-recorded, mostly so I can just kind of cut the parts that I don't like out. Anyway, just kind of giving an update on some of the things that's going on. I've had a lot of people I've seen on my feed, especially on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, who has been in the industry for say 4 or 5 years or something like that, and they feel like giving up. A lot of them feel like they don't see any results. A lot of them feel like that they're hitting a plateau, like a brick wall. And I just want to give a moment just to say that, listen, that's normal. In fact, that happens to everybody, and a lot of stuff goes behind the scenes, especially inside this film industry. I'm working as a full-time filmmaker now. I don't have a secondary job, so my dad and my kids like to say I'm unemployed, but, you know, I stay very, very active and very busy. I actually travel quite a bit. Usually my schedule consists of, on Sundays, I film church events and sermons and teachings and preachings and stuff like that. Film those and put them up on YouTube or do the live feeds, do the live streams and stuff like that for it. And then on Mondays, I work on a couple of YouTube channels. One of them is like a motivational speech thing that I do and cut and edit and stuff like that with some music and things like that. Usually on Tuesdays, I do a 2-hour program on HOD Christian Radio Network. And so usually Tuesdays, I'm pretty busy trying to create, the story and what I want to do. It's about a 2-hour block that I do. It's usually live, some pre-recorded, obviously, and then I have to do some editing and stuff like that. This way it's uploaded by 8 p.m., and, you know, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. And then on Wednesdays, I do 3 different podcasts that I'm involved in. Now, I'm mostly just the cinematographer, videographer. I record and do mostly behind the scenes and stuff like that. I'd love to start getting on this side of it eventually, but right now I'm very happy with just learning the ins and outs and working behind the scenes. I do one which is a Q&A Bible talk live. It's, people call in with questions and stuff like that, and the pastor goes through and finds the answers to those questions and stuff like that and does as best as he can. And then I do another one which is kind of like advice for filmmakers and actors and stuff like that, like how to get into the industry and what they should do, and some of just some behind the scenes trivia and things like that. And then another one is a film review where people watch a movie and then make the commentary to that movie track and stuff like that. And so those are the 3 podcasts that I'm involved in. Usually do those in Nashville, and then on Thursdays do Memphis or Jackson and start recording some of the world champion wrestling and stuff that they have going on there. So some of the minor, smaller stuff that you see for like local television, stuff like that, stuff that's been on Channel 7, WBBJ Jackson, and some stuff like that. I'm over there filming and working on some of that kind of stuff. On Thursdays, Fridays is usually open mic night at stand-up comedy clubs, and so I'm usually filming or working in the sound booth or doing some open mic and stuff like that, trying to work and practice onto some routines and stuff like that, so I can do maybe another little stand-up comedy tour. It's something that I love doing and stuff like that, but I still definitely need to work on the routine, try to work on some timing and stuff like that. And any comedian will tell you flat out that you can't just get up there and start. You need to kind of rehearse, you need to practice, and you need to find what the audience likes. You need to learn to read the room. This way you can take the best of the best and you create your material and stuff like that. So that's what I do on Fridays. And then on Saturdays, I film music videos. In fact, I've gone everywhere, all over at least Tennessee and Kentucky and some in Georgia. Recently did a music video in Texas. And so just we film whatever we can, do music videos and concerts, a lot of live shows and stuff like that. And then, of course, Sunday, boom, starts it all over again. Also, some busy stuff that I have going on that's just pretty cool. On April 6th at the Perry County Public Library in Linden, Tennessee, we're going to be doing my book signing for a new book that I have published out. This is the hardback cover. There's actually 3 different versions of the same book, but this is Dead at Dusty Creek. It's a pretty cool book. It's a Western gunslinging book. It took me quite a while to write, but anyway, it's pretty exciting. Anyway, this is the hardcover copy of Dead at Dusty Creek. It's my new book. And then, of course, here's a paperback book of the same thing, the 5x7 size, Dead at Dusty Creek as well. And then I also have, for those who have a hard time seeing or reading and stuff like that, a large print, which is a big full size and stuff like that. It's a large print version of the book. So this way, for people who can't see very well, or some older folks that have problem reading and stuff like that, I got a large print paperback as well. And so all three of those, including some of my past books, will be available at the book signing. And then I guess that's really it. I'm working on recording a podcast tonight, as a matter of fact. It's going to be the first one that I host. And this one I'm going to be having Joseph Drake from White Door Productions going to be my guest. And so I'm going to speak to him about different videos and projects and stuff that they worked on. I wish I could get David Baker, but right now I only have a setup to do one at a time. And so I'm going to do an interview again with Joseph Drake from White Door Productions. So we're going to be talking about everything from A Girl Without a Name to Fearsville 1 and 2 and some of his new projects, Scary Tales and Dead Time Stories, the new movie that he has working out. And hopefully if that get some momentum going, then I'll be working on a podcast regularly, and I'm going to reach out to some of my acting friends and filmmaking friends and stuff like that. Like I said, on Wednesdays, I'm involved in 3 different podcasts, but those are not mine. Those are somebody else's. I would like to eventually transition to do my own stuff, and that's kind of where I'm leading at and stuff like that. This way I can do the best I can. Anyway, that is what I do in a nutshell. Leonardo DiCaprio once said it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And they say it's over 10,000 hours worth of time put into something before you can be considered an expert at anything. And so for those of you who are starting out, or those of you who have been in it for a couple years and you're feeling frustrated and you feel empty and you feel like you've hit the plateau, that's normal. It's perfectly fine. In fact, it takes a lot of work to get into this industry. You got to stay busy and you got to stay constant. I don't remember the lady's name, but the chick from Jurassic World, the redhead girl, the one that ran around in high heels and stuff, I watched an interview that she did recently, and when she first got started, she was in Las Vegas with her grandmother, and of course, all y'all know that her dad is Ron Howard, and her grandma is obviously somebody else who's in the industry and stuff like that. And so so even though she had a tie-in, at the same time, nobody's handing her parts for free. She's still auditioning and stuff like that. And she's in Vegas, she's doing a runway show, and her grandma says, out of every audition that you go, how many auditions do you think is average before you get one booked? And she said, well, maybe 1 out of 10. And her grandma said, no, 1 out of 64. So 1 out of 64 auditions, you might actually book it. And so for y'all, like what she realized then is like when she got to like say number 25 and was still being rejected and still not landing the lead parts and stuff like that, it was okay. She knew that she still had a ways to go, that it would just be almost delusions of grandeur to think that maybe she could get a part after only 25 auditions, after 50 auditions and stuff like that. I think it was like 48, I think, auditions that she got before she finally landed her big role. And her agent was like, how did you manage to, keep going? What made you not give up? And she says, because her grandmother had told her at least 64 times. So for her she thought 1 at least out of 100 that she might actually land a role. So her job was going to try to do these one-time shows, which is her audition, to really reflect her and her personality out there, and to land that part. And so for her, she decided in her head it's going to be at least 1 out of every 100, and that it is a numbers game, but it is also her applying herself and pushing herself out there and doing the best she can, and that she wasn't going to feel discouraged even at 100, which, speaking of 100, that's a lot. That sounds like a lot. But Danny DeVito, I love Danny DeVito. They say he went and auditioned different projects, different stuff, and then went for Taxi, and he auditioned 100 times, not 98, not 99, but 100 times before he landed that part. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. Jessica Alba, I think they said she auditioned like 26 times for different projects and different roles, and then had come back multiple times before she ever landed Dark Angel, which, eventually shot her into who she was, especially in the late 90s. But anyway, so listen, just because you maybe do 2 or 3 auditions a month or a year or something like that, and you're seeing these rejections or you're not seeing any momentum, that's normal. It's perfectly fine and perfectly normal. And then I've been saying this from the very beginning, and I'm going to say it again, Mel Gibson, Reese Witherspoon, like all of your big names, Sylvester Stallone, Adam Sandler, all the A-list talent and celebrities and stuff like that, Will Smith, I can't think of anybody else in particular off the top of my head, Martin Short, Steve Martin, all these actors and comedians and stuff like that, they instead of necessarily auditioning sometimes at the same time, they create their own path. They create their own stuff. So if you're saying that you're putting everything you can, you've tried everything already, start creating your own content. Listen, I'm shooting this right now on my iPhone 11, right on my, right here on my table at my desk, and doing nothing but with a little lamp. And it looks good. I mean, of course, it's just a cell phone. It's not filmmaking quality, of course. I'm not telling you to do that. But at the same time, you have the tools, and you have the talent, and you have the availability. And there's platforms like Film Hub or Tubi and Amazon Prime that can get your movies out there. You have YouTube and Zenmo and all these different places like that that can really get your movie out there. You can find distribution easier than it's ever been before. The equipment's out there cheaper than it's ever been before. Create your own content. Make your own things. And that's another thing also, too. When I had an agent, I was signed on with 2 different agents and stuff like that, but I was getting about 99% of all my work through Facebook, and I just didn't feel like staying signed on with an agent was necessarily for me. It's also another reason why I've stayed away from unions, because Tennessee is a right-to-work state, and many of the gigs and films and stuff that you see in Tennessee or Kentucky, even some in North Carolina, or even some in Georgia, Texas, stuff like that, a lot of them are non-union films. And so I had a friend of mine, she was doing films. She worked in LA. She got to work with Leonardo DiCaprio, and she got to work with Martin Scorsese and stuff like that. And she was a little fish in a huge pond and stuff like that. So she decided to come back to Tennessee and stuff like that. And it turns out, because she was union, she shot herself in the foot and wasn't available to be working in any of these projects. Yes, she was making higher dollar cash amounts for each project that she was working than, say, somebody like me. But I was working sometimes like 8 to 10 jobs to her one. And even though her one would be paying more than some of mine, I was still working way more and thus making way more than she is. And she was like, how are you always working? Well, it's because I'm non-union. So I have stayed non-union purposely. Also, Tennessee is about to boom. It's already growing. It's already getting bigger and stuff like that. But because of the strike and because of some of the new contracts and stuff like that with the union, a lot of the big studios are moving to right-to-work states, including Tennessee. Also, most people don't realize exactly how Atlanta got started. Back in the day, and this is back in the 80s and 90s, Wilmington, North Carolina used to be the East Coast Hollywood of the country. Everybody shot in there. You shot, Andy Griffith shot down there, Seventh Heaven, Dawson's Creek, all those shows, everything was being filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington was the place to go. You had Hollywood or Wilmington. And what happened is Wilmington, North Carolina, they decided to get rid of the tax incentives, which was keeping the studios there for making movies and stuff like that. So Georgia stepped up and said, hey, come on down. We'll give you the tax incentives. You move your studios here. We'll start making movies. And then Atlanta blew up. It skyrocketed. Now it's the next East Coast Hollywood. And it stayed very active and very busy. All the Marvel studio movies are there. All the Avengers and stuff like that are shot there. Cartoon Network's headquarters is down there. Tons of places. Cobra Kai and Stranger Things, which are both Netflix, are both shot in Atlanta, Georgia. So anyway, long story short, recently, like during 2020 or 2019, 2020, Atlanta got rid of their tax incentives. And so Nashville, Governor Bill Lee came on and said, hey, we are already the music capital of the nation, the music capital of the world, Nashville, Tennessee. Why don't we become the next Hollywood? Why don't we become the movie capital as well? And so they put up a big funding initiative and put tax breaks and stuff like that. So I know of 2 major studios that's moving from Atlanta to Nashville. So again, things are going to go big. Things are starting to blow up. You're already seeing a lot of projects. You're seeing a lot of moves, especially even with the whole political side and everything like that. There's just a lot of jobs and stuff and opportunities moving, say, to Tennessee and to some of the more rural areas. So it's, you have the opportunity. It's right there. So anyway, but this is one of the things that my agent had told me to do. Like, if you want to stay busy, you want to try to do this influencing stuff, you want to create your own content, here is just one of the schedules of posting that you should do on a daily basis. Now, me personally, I don't do this. I'm lucky to get on once every 2 weeks. I don't really like doing the social media thing. It's just, I find it kind of a necessary evil, and at the same time, I stay busy. But again, I just told you my schedule. I don't have a lot of time to be snapping photos and putting my life online. So I just busy live my life, and then, you just get to see pretty much the highlights and the glimpses and stuff like that. But anyway, here's a schedule that my agent had given me that I should be doing. What you should do, this is your guidepost. You should be posting regular, like this is on Instagram, on singles for your regular posts, obviously one daily, but make sure you do 2 to 3 a week at the very least. Reels 3 to 4 times a week. Carousels 1 to 2 times a week. Make sure you have 3 to 5 hashtags per post Also, stories, which used to not be as big a thing, but obviously stories and reels are real big now because, again, reels are 3 to 4 times a week now. So they say, again, singles 2 to 3 times a week, reels 3 to 4 times a week, carousels 1 to 2 times a week, hashtags 3 to 5 per post, stories 2 to 6 per day to keep the algorithm going, so this way people will see your stuff and create momentum for you. It says that you should do your DMs about 20 to 30 different messages a day, different people. That's different people per day. How many people do you message people 30 times a day, 30 different people a day? I don't have time for all that, but that's just part of creating the algorithm, getting the flow. That's if you're wanting to become an influencer. That's if you're wanting to get, getting that momentum moving and stuff like that, creating your own content and trying to bring those things in there. Comments, it says that you should do 100 to 150 a day. 100 to 150 comments a day on different posts, because what you're doing is creating engagement and you're getting things to move towards you. Now, I don't have that kind of time. I don't want to have that kind of time. I don't want to do that, but I'm just telling you what my agent had said. Collabs, do 1 to 2 a week, and then live streams, do 1 a week. So if you take that schedule, all of a sudden your day is filled with like 4 or 5 hours or more sitting on social media just trying to create the algorithm and stuff like that for you. So again, that's nothing that I'm interested in. I'm interested in creating my own content and creating my own production company and make movies, and that's where my goal is. That's where my passion is. Plus, I'm also a single father of 3 teenage boys, and I'm a full-time student at Full Sail University. So, I'm a senior this year. I graduate October 3rd. I'm actually pretty excited about that. I'm going to be going to Orlando, Florida, or somewhere in there to Water Park, Florida, I think is actually technically what it's called. Anyway, that's where I'm going to be doing my graduation ceremony, so I'm pretty excited about that. Again, I'm going to be doing a mini book tour with my new book, Dead at Dusty Creek. I'm already working on a sequel, and I also have a couple other books that I'm in the process of releasing pretty soon. I'm also in the process of, if you can see, handy dandy laptop right here, I'm working on a script, and I'll give you some more news without making this super long video about what's going on with Blood Moon Massacre, because Blood Moon Massacre is happening. We are doing a horror film. It has a lot of momentum. It's just a long story. I sold the rights sort of, and then it got held up for about a year or two, and now I got all the rights back, but I have to do a complete rewrite. It's like I said, it's kind of a crazy story. It'll definitely be on the behind the scenes or the making of or the commentary or some kind of special featurette. Anyway, guys, I know I've kept you very long. I doubt any of you have actually watched it this far. If you have, guys, I want to tell you I love you very much. I really do. I want you to live with passion. I want you to grow and keep working on yourself. Listen, I do engage, even though, like I said, I don't really do a lot of social media stuff. I do get notifications. So if you want to comment, like, anything, you want some of my advice, you want some ideas, you want some stuff like that, you want to know how I got stuff published, you want to know how I did a book signing, you want to know how I do the stand-up tour, you want to know how I found some of these jobs, or whatever it is that you want, or if you want to be a guest on my podcast, or whatever you want to do, then please feel free to comment below. Send me a DM. I check all those. Anyway, my dogs are scratching the door. They're wanting out, and I've like I said, I've made this video long enough. But guys, thank y'all so much for paying attention. I will be posting a lot more of these, not just because I'm supposed to for social media content, but also because I have a lot happening, and instead of just making a post and sitting there texting it all out, it's just 10 times easier for me to grab my phone, lay it down, and boom, make a video. But yeah, for all you actors out there who are feeling frustrated and aggravated and stuff like that, listen, you got the same tools I do. You got the same tools right there. Boom, you can make a movie. Anyway, I trust you. I will help you. I'll be a part of your movie if you want me to. I know there's a lot of people out there. Anyway, it's a great online community out there. All you have to do is just type in your local film commission or local areas and casting, and you'll find lots of opportunities. Anyway, I love you guys. God bless you. Live with passion.